Greetings, good day everyone. I'm here at the Evergreen Cemetery of Los Angeles, California. I want to talk about the tragic death of Walter Conrad Collins, a 9-year-old boy who was taken and murdered by a predator in 1928. If you've ever seen the movie Changeling, that's one word, Changeling. It's a film by Clint Eastwood. It was produced in 2008, starring Angelina Jolie as Christine Collins, the mother of the murdered boy. I haven't seen the film. I'm told that it's very well done, which I believe. I like Clint Eastwood as a director, just like I like Robert Redford as a director. I always thought those two guys were very, very talented and accurate in the way they did their filming as far as historical events. But that film is based on this case, and it follows it pretty closely. Young Walter Collins was born September 23rd, 1918 in Venice. His parents were Christine Collins, and the father was Walter Joseph Collins, Walter Sr. Now, Walter Sr. was a convict. He was arrested and sentenced to Folsom Prison for robbery, armed robbery, and he eventually died at Folsom Prison and buried over there. So he was completely out of the picture when this whole tragedy took place. Christine was raising Walter by herself in 1928 when he disappeared. He disappeared on March 10th, 1928, when his mother Christine gave him money to go to the movies. It wasn't unusual at that time for parents to let their kids walk through the city. In most every city, children would walk alone and there was no fear of any foul play. Parents are strongly advised not to do that anymore, but they typically did back then. It's a different time, different culture, different century. But she gave him money to go to the movies, and he never came home. She placed a telephone call to the police late that evening saying, look, I don't know where my kid is. They told her not to worry about it. Kids typically get lost. They told her to wait at least 24 hours. So she waited, but while she was waiting, she went out looking for him herself. She went out through various parks, the streets. She went to the movie house where she knew that he was going to, and the staff over there didn't recall seeing him or anything. So what happened to him, she didn't know. So she contacted the police the next day, and they did an investigation. The case received nationwide attention, so it became high profile. Los Angeles Police Department followed up on a lot of leads without any luck. Now, the police of Los Angeles at that time had a lot of bad notoriety about them. There were a lot of crooked police on the force that were taking bribes from organized criminals, from houses of gambling and houses of prostitution, and some of them were even lending their police skills out to, as enforcers for the underworld, as a kind of as a second job. So there was a lot of corruption at that time. And the chief, instead of cleaning up the corruption, did nothing except basically, like some politicians, some governors, some mayors, they just let it go. Well, that was the situation in Los Angeles. So they did a shoddy job trying to find this kid, even though they did put out leads. They did get leads, and they did an investigation, but nothing broke in the case for over 5 months until Los Angeles police got a call from a police department in DeKalb, Illinois, saying that they found Walter. There was a boy there that pretended to be Walter, and the reason he did was so that he could get to Los Angeles finally. He was unhappy where he was. He wanted to go to Los Angeles and meet his favorite actor, Tom Mix. Christine paid for him to be transported to Los Angeles by train. It was a big media event. when he got off the train, but she said, "That's not my boy." The investigator, Captain J.J. Jones, told her, "Look, it is him. Why don't you try the boy out, take him home?" 3 weeks later, she insisted, "Nope, that's not my son. His dental records don't match," and Captain Jones didn't want to hear it. And she was very, very insistent and confrontational with Captain Jones, so he had her committed as a psychiatric patient to the Los Angeles County Hospital, which is located not very far from here, actually. She was in there for a couple of weeks at least, until the boy himself admitted that he wasn't Walter. And then she was discharged. She brought a lawsuit against the police department, and she won. She won an amount of over $10,800, a good amount of money back at that time. And Captain Jones was ordered to pay that amount, and he refused to. He never did, filthy slob. So, yeah, everything about this case was just infuriating. Finally, the real break in the case came just a few short months later, when the Federal Department of Immigration and Customs got a call from a lady in Canada claiming that her relative Gordon Northcott and his mother Sarah Northcott were visiting them in Canada, because these two were native Canadians and they had migrated to the United States. They were bragging to her about how they murdered Walter Collins and buried his bones in a chicken coop that they were living in Riverside County. Well, the authorities, so immigration contacted LAPD. They in turn contacted the Riverside County Sheriffs, and they went to that farm where they farm chickens. And they looked around, and they did some digging and found bones and remains. They didn't find the complete bodies, but this Gordon Northcott and his mother had murdered several children. They were tried and convicted. His mother, Sarah Northcott, served a few years in prison. She got out. For some reason, she was paroled. She died a few years after getting out. Gordon Northcott, this horrible monster, got the death penalty. And they didn't waste time back then like they do now getting to the death penalty. He was sentenced to death in 1929, and then less than 2 years later, he was hanged. Death by hanging at San Quentin Prison on October 2nd, 1930. He was only 23 years old when he was sentenced to death and executed. Now, let's go to her grave. It's right over here. There's a picture of the lovely lady right here. Gordon Northcott and his mother Sarah were never... Gordon Northcott was never convicted of the death of Walter Collins, but he was convicted in the death of three other boys whose remains were found there at the chicken farm in Riverside. This here is the lady, Christine Collins. She didn't really, because they never found his remains specifically, she kept searching for her son until she died in 1964. She never found him. So this is his picture here. This is a cenotaph. A cenotaph is a grave marker where the person's remains are not actually there, or they may have been there one time and were removed. But since his remains were never found, his cenotaph is here, along with his lovely mother. So rest in peace, ma'am, and young Walter. I brought a stone because I think, in my opinion, she never gave up looking for her son. world's best mom. And would be honored to meet these folks someday. Tragedy, 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 but these things happen in this life. When the kingdom of God comes on earth, we will have no more tragedies like this. Rest in peace, folks.